Hey, Bills Mafia. We know there's only one topic every day. All Bills, all the time. And now Matt Bove and Sal Capaccio are going really deep, talking Bills all year long, because it's always game day in Buffalo.
All right, Hard Knocks, episode number 3 in the books. Welcome to It's Always Game Day in Buffalo live reaction show once again. Matt Bove is there, Sal Capaccio is here, and we're ready to talk with you about it. You can comment in the comment section, the chat box, however you do it. We really appreciate you joining us. And of course, whether you're watching us now or listening to us later, thanks a lot for coming aboard. Matt, I got to tell you, I actually thought this was the best episode for me so far. I enjoyed this episode more than the other two.
Did you read my X post, my Twitter post right before we came on here?
I don't think I
did. In agreement. I said easily the best episode of the first 3.
I did not read that, but I agree with you. Why don't you tell me why you thought so first, and I'll get into why I thought so.
I really like this comment from Scott here. The first 2 were this episode was by far the best. A lot more coaches interaction with the players and player interactions. I agree. I really liked the stuff we saw from the coaches in this episode. And I also think it was a little bit more in depth with some of the players that we aren't as familiar with. And I appreciated that. I felt like watching this episode, even as somebody who's relatively close to the team, I learned a lot. And that's what I appreciate. And I'm sure that's what fans appreciate too. We know a lot about Josh Allen collectively, but the James Cook stuff was relevant, and I think that they handled that well. Obviously, that was the big story to start the week, and I also like that they didn't just kind of gloss over the joint practice at the end and then the preseason game at the end and how bad that was. I appreciated all of the substance that was there.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think that a lot from Sean McDermott in the meeting room, the way he kind of handles the team. I really like that. The culture stuff, the building stuff, kind of what goes on in there, earning your spot. We're going to talk about all of that. I kind of took some notes I want to run through here, but the more personal element of everything, it wasn't just general, stuff from training camp, and not that there was anything wrong with going to the Pittsburgh Dairy and showing, those interactions and those guys having fun off the field, but I thought this got a little bit more football-y for me, right? And even the personal interactions were more football-y for me, and maybe that's why I liked it more.
Yeah, and I liked some of the conversations that the coaches were having with the players, or the things that they were looking for, or the intensity that they needed to bring. I appreciated that. I loved watching them watch the film and talk about something as simple as helping your teammate up off the ground and bringing energy on the sideline, and that what that might lead to, right? Because obviously these things all make sense, but there are things that maybe you don't think that they would be worried to talk about, right? There's so many other layers that go into football. But it is still football at the end of the day, and having your teammates back is important. So I loved that. And then I loved the stuff in the hotel in Chicago with whatever that guy's job title would be.
He was an improv. He was a master of improv. He was a improv professional of some sort.
Yeah, that was just very entertaining.
You remember last year they had the Mentalist in Pittsburgh?
Yes.
So this is what they did this year. They had the improv guy. Also, maybe the biggest news of the entire show, maybe the most important aspect of the show from Backbone. He's right. Matt Milano said words. If you had over under 0.5, Matt Milano's actual words on Hard Knocks, if you had over, you win.
Yeah, and it was still just a sentence. It was 27-0 is crazy, man. Or something
27
along
donuts.
those lines. 27 donuts is crazy, man. And that was pretty much it. But yeah, Matt's comment just came in. The improv stuff was awesome. I have a theater degree, and we actually played that game in one of our acting classes. I thought watching it that Josh was going to win because, of course, Josh wins everything. He's the MVP, and I thought that's how they were going to set it up. So Gabe Davis with the surprise upset.
It's awesome. I love when we have these comments and we get really ridiculous stuff like this. Are you going to mention how bad Buffalo Joe was, or just conveniently ignore that because it doesn't fit your narrative on him? Actually, Bills fan, you must not pay attention very much because we actually talked a lot about it today at practice. Sean McDermott was asked about it. I wrote it in my story. Matt did. I know it's cool to kind of be passive aggressive with us, but you're just wrong.
I mean, we also talked about it in the post-game podcast, too, about how Joe Andreessen really struggled.
And we all talked about it.
That is something I literally...
And he did. Yeah, let me say it again. He struggled, no doubt.
Yes.
And that's shown there. So, sorry, Bills fan, but good story.
I brought up the point about how this could impact Shaq Thompson because I don't think they would want Joe Andreessen on the field for actual defensive snaps and more so just for special teams roles, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, yeah, I mean, if he's making a comment about the Hard Knock stuff, I don't think they're going to go in depth on Hard Knocks about that. So, yeah, that's just kind of my opinion on it all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it wasn't in my arrows. I don't know. I included like 3 people, plus I said basically the whole team, the whole defense. So give it a rest, dude. Try another time next week, maybe take a break. All right, here's the deal. Joe Andreessen, Sean McDermott did say about him today, hey, everybody has a bad game. They have an off game. It's how you respond. And I think that's the important part about Joe Andreessen, to be quite honest. We've seen enough good from Joe that, yeah, he was not good on Sunday. Neither was the rest of the team. And they obviously focused on, what happened not only Friday and Sunday. Okay, so let's start off with
Scott. Good comment from Scott here. Sense of urgency. McDermott in team meeting was awesome to see. Was all business. Loved it. And I just do think that is relevant of like, what is Sean McDermott like behind closed doors? You see what he is like in his press conferences. You see what he's like in his interviews and him clapping on the sideline and all of that stuff. But to see him in that setting, I do think is refreshing for Bills fans. Sean McDermott's a pretty polarizing person within this fan base. Some people like Sean McDermott. They think he's a good coach. And admittedly, there are people who think that he's not the guy that's ultimately going to get them over the hump. Now, this is Hard Knocks. The team has control, editorial control. They want to paint their team in a good light. Obviously, I'm not naive. I realize that. But I do think seeing Sean McDermott in this setting for some fans is definitely going to win them over or sway them maybe a little bit towards the, hey, he is the guy that this organization needs to ultimately win a Super Bowl.
Got it. I'll just wrap it up with this because these things bother me a little bit. Sal talking down to people who disagree with him. I didn't disagree with you. You're just wrong. Like we actually, like you made a comment that we didn't, this doesn't fit our narrative. We don't talk about it and you're just completely wrong. So like I said, you could try again next week. So I'm going to remove this person and they can come back later. There we go. All right. That's what happens in the comments. I have the ability to do that. And I don't want to be,
I didn't even know you had the ability to do that.
I can do that. You can tell me if you want someone banned, I'll ban them for you.
No, I don't want anybody.
Okay.
banned.
I don't, but I just removed that guy or girl, whatever he is. Saul Styles cameo in the background. Yes, it was kind of a bit of my face right there. We also had, how about this? This is the best comment. Bippity, bippity, bop.
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 Bop. Bop. You had to say it before the whatever thing. You had to say it before he was done saying it. Bop.
This one's for you, though. Go ahead, Matt.
Any apologies from you, the media, blowing the Cook contract out of proportion? Yeah, yes,
that was directed at you.
I think that we are the reason why. I would like, if I could please be mailed a little portion of James Cook's $48 million check or whatever it ended up being, that would be lovely. And if that was the media stirring it up, then I think we deserve a little piece of the pie, quite frankly.
Well, it was a big enough story that national reporters were talking about it. The team itself, both Bean and McDermott, said it was becoming a distraction. Yeah. That's not blowing anything out of proportion. That's real life. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is.
Why is everyone so angry tonight from Backbone 5? I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's a little bit later in the evening and people are a little bit fired up.
I'm not angry.
Honestly, maybe it's the residual of watching them lose 38-0 again. Like you already saw it happen on Sunday, and then Hard Knocks was a little bit of a refresher of like, oh yeah, they got their teeth kicked in the other night.
All right. No, I'm not angry, but we look at the comments. We try. Here's the deal with me. I'll be honest with you. Like we come on these shows, we're doing a live reaction, we're welcoming comments, and it's great. And when people come in just to insult us, it's stupid. So I just want to, kind of respond to that. But that being said, I digress. No more. I will get to this comment, which is actually a really good one. This is from Shraboni, and she says, "Love the humanity of this episode. Game strategy aside, seeing our center's wife showing her wonder that her husband wants to hang out with his teammates immediately after camp is priceless." That was really cool. I agree.
Yeah, right. It's another reminder that people say all the time how close the Bills are. And I think sometimes we roll our eyes at it a little bit because you're like, okay, like how close can you really be? And you're an NFL team, and I'm sure every NFL team is like this. I don't think that every NFL team is like this. I've done a story with Connor McDermott about these pizza parties where we went to a kitchen. Connor McGovern, about the pizza parties. We went to a kitchen and we made pizzas, and he was telling me all about this and how they became superstitious. We're like, we got to have these pizza parties because we keep winning when we have them. And how could we stop eating pizza and winning football games? Like, we don't want to do that. But then Josh texts the guys and is like, hey, everybody come over for a movie. I mean, that's the MVP of the NFL. I'm sure they feel the same way that probably a fan would sometimes of like, oh, whoa, I just got invited. Like, I got to go over there. I can't miss on this opportunity. And then his wife's sitting there like, hey, like Tatum's a toddler. Can I please get a little bit of help here back at home?
James says, would rather watch the scrimmages or joint practices than the preseason games. Wish the NFL would do something about it. I agree with you. And I think they would actually do really well on TV if they were to do something like that. But the NFL wants to sell out stadiums, and that's what they can charge prices for preseason games as part of your season tickets. So we all know why that is. But I don't disagree with you, James. Okay, this started off with the Giants game, revisiting it. We talked about McDermott in there, and then it got right to the James Cook storyline. Sean McDermott, James Cook, and then we heard from James Cook, who is a man of not many words, but it really seemed like there was a big weight lifted off everybody's shoulders, including James, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think you could also just see the pure emotion from James Cook. Like, he was visibly emotional talking about what this meant for him and how hard he said it was for him to be kind of standing on the sidelines while he was waiting for this ultimately to get done. And then there was the point when Brandon Beane said, like, I'm sorry it didn't get done sooner, but it got done now. And I think that's truly how he feels. I don't think he wanted this to turn into, like you mentioned it, they called it a distraction in some capacity. So the fact that they were able to eventually get something done, and also, not for anything, this was not touched in the episode, the numbers on the James Cook contract look substantially better than they even did when they were initially reported from the strictly Bills side of things. It is not as massive of a commitment as the initial numbers made it seem like, right? It's essentially a 3-year deal, kind of with an out that's very manageable after the 3rd year. And the guaranteed money, the way it's structured, is not going to handcuff the Bills. I really don't think.
Matthew, thank you. I did not realize this. Why do you have a Browns helmet? Go Bills. I don't. I just realized because you can't see it, my Syracuse sticker fell. It's a Syracuse helmet.
Oh, that's funny.
It's a Syracuse helmet. Hold on. It's an old school. I'm going to show you guys this. All right. This is pretty cool. There you go. And look at the inside of this thing.
Yeah. Dang. You might have to face it forward for the remainder of the episode just so it does say Syracuse on it.
No, like that. I do this. So you see that. All right, there you go. Now you got the S. All right. So hopefully that helps. So thank you, Matthew. I apologize, but thank you for showing me that was the case. Okay. Well, James Cook, and then we got to the horse riding with Ed Oliver and Ty Johnson. It was Ty Johnson who was the other person who was riding. Someone asked a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
You know, it's funny that the Bills have like sort of dangerous hobbies, and I don't know how much the team would love that with the Deion Dawkins stuff in the car, and then Ty Johnson and Ed Oliver on a horse. And then at one point, it looked like Ty Johnson was going to fall off the horse, which of course is very, very concerning for professional athletes. But you know, I know that this is.
I felt the same way.
You see the videos. Ed Oliver has been riding these horses his entire life. I think Ed Oliver riding a horse, not to be, you know, like super cliche, it would be like somebody else riding a bike. I think he just really, really knows what he is doing, and that this was just kind of like them showing it off for the Hard Knocks cameras. So yeah, it's a cool hobby. And I mean, what did he say? He's got 30 horses. That's pretty crazy.
Who had Jimmy Charlo as a focus of this episode? I certainly did not.
Jimmy Charlo, Jamarcus Ingram.
I want to get to Ingram in a second, but Jimmy Charlo is really an interesting guy. I don't give him a chance to make the 53, but I think an episode like this and the fact that, you know, what he's shown for the Bills and what he's now being shown on HBO and Hard Knocks, there's going to be a team out there that may look at him and go, you know what? Let's bring this guy on our practice squad. Maybe the Bills even want him on the practice squad. He could be a guy that could stick there.
Well, the linebacker position is not a strength for the Bills behind their starters. I don't think. So that's why if they like Jimmy Charlo is even just like a special teams contributor or somebody who's got some upside, I think he could absolutely be a practice squad candidate. I mean,
how many linebackers do you think they keep?
On the 53?
Yeah.
5.
Right. Bernard Milano, Dorian Williams, Joe Andreessen, and Shaq Thompson?
Yes. That's what I think so too.
I don't think Eddie Ulofoshio makes it. In fact, I would say this. I think Keontae Jenkins is ahead of Eddie Ulofoshio, but unfortunately he was hurt and didn't practice today.
I would imagine that 2 of the 3 names we just said are some of the guys they keep on the practice squad based off of just youth and upside and potential. And, you know, linebacker is probably a position where you would want a couple guys stowed away on the practice squad. So that's how I think it's ultimately going to shake out. But yeah, I liked the Charlo stuff. And then I think Scott made the comment that he did not see the Jamarcus Ingram storyline coming. I didn't either.
Here's what I really liked about it. I have told people, and I'm glad that we saw this. I want Matt to talk about Dr. Dez a little bit, because I've told people in the past how, look, I mean, Dr. Dez, when you know the Bills have a team, what is her title? Team psychologist, right? Is that what it is, Matt? I want to make sure.
Dr. Dez, yeah, they're sports psychologist.
Sports psychologist. I've told people one of the cool things about watching how the Bills operate is they're very, very encouraging of being aware of your own mental health and being in a good headspace. And going back to last year, I wanted to do an interview with Jamarcus Ingram because he had written a children's book. Actually, here's the story. He wrote a children's book. I wanted to do an interview with him. And they said, yeah, after practice, I got with PR. And then I waited. And then they said, well, Jamarcus, you have to wait for him. He walks with Dr. Dez. And I watched, and he just walked laps with Dr. Dez, the sports psychologist for the team. But he does that all the time. And I've told people this story. He's not the only one, but I'm so glad they showed that. I thought it was a cool humanistic side of this. And I'd like you to talk about Dr. Dez because you did a piece on her as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Dr. Desiree Festa, she is the sports psychologist for the Buffalo Bills. She is with the players wherever they are. And I think that is such a cool kind of way of approaching what she does and what the players need her to be. Because if she was standing or sitting in an office and you had to go to her, it might be intimidating. It might not be welcoming. It might not be convenient for the players. But she wants to make sure that she's checking in with these guys as much as she can and make sure it's as incredibly comfortable for them. So you see the Jamarcus Ingram, them taking a walk around the field. It could just be her giving a little fist bump to somebody off to the side. Like, she is trying to be as involved as much as they want her to be. But the way that her team and the players talk about her is incredibly complimentary. Like, Jamarcus Ingram told me in an interview that she is the secret weapon for the Buffalo Bills. Dwayne Carter said she is the MVP of the team, even though everybody knows that it's Josh Allen. She's the MVP behind the scenes. So these guys really, really love her. And I feel like that's just another kind of piece to the pie, because a lot of teams have incorporated mental health into what they are doing to try and lead to success on the field. And for the Bills, it's Dr. Dez. I wish they would have given her a little bit more shine in this episode. They showed him walking with her, but they didn't really talk about her. Maybe that'll happen in one of the next 2 episodes. But either way, just like a really valuable, important person within the organization.
It's 5 total episodes, Matt.
5 total episodes. So we're closer to the end than the beginning. Only 2 more episodes left.
We will not see cuts until the final episode because cuts aren't due until 4 p.m. on Tuesday. And of course, that's next week, a week from now. And of course, the episode airs after that. So they won't. I mean, I guess you could do it if there were cuts that happened like in the morning and they edit them in, but I wouldn't think it would happen until the following week. So, you know what I did? There's a way to put the comments on the screen there. They're a little small, but if you're looking underneath you in the box, you can see if you're commenting now, you can see those show up a little bit. So be respectful to each other. I'm going to keep those on there for a little while, and then we'll highlight some as well. All right.
Let's answer a couple questions here.
Yeah, let's go.
Vince Guarino.
You're Italian.
Guarino.
You know how to say that
name. Did you know, real quick today, random, sorry, sidebar. Tom Golisano is giving $50 million to Oshai Children's Hospital, and it's going to be renamed like Golisano Children's Hospital or something. Did you know his real first name is Blaze?
No.
Yeah, his real name is Blaze Thomas Golisano, which is also my father-in-law's name, Blaze. It's like a very traditional Italian name. So that was cool.
I did not know that.
So when you said the thing about being Italian and saying his name right, I was like, did you know about Blaze?
Isn't that the same in the hospital is the same name in Rochester, I believe, right?
So, something similar. It's Golisano something. So, obviously that's a substantial. I'm sorry. This is, really off of, what we were saying.
No, it's okay. It's fine. And by the way, he's married to Monica Seles. People know that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great for him. But I mean, and her. But I just think it's kind of an interesting fact about Tom Golisano, who obviously used to be the owner of the Buffalo Sabres.
Does Mike White or Shane Buechele make the practice squad? I think it's Mike White. I think Mike White is the better quarterback. I think Mike White would give you the better chance to win if you needed him to play. You said, you don't necessarily agree.
I think what I've seen over the last week leans me more to Mitch Trubisky.
No.
Practice squad. The question was Buechele or White in the practice squad. Yes, I agree.
Mitch Trubisky is the backup quarterback. Yeah.
Agree. I'm sorry. You're right. Trubisky's the backup. Mike White would be the practice squad quarterback. The only way I think I see it different is if someone else gives a shot to Mike White to actually be on their 53, but I don't see that happening.
Here's a question from Brandon at 10:15. What are your guys' thoughts on KJ Hamler making the 53-man roster? I do not think it looks good. Looks good for KJ Hamler. I just really don't see a path to this team for a player like that.
No, I agree with you. And if you think about what Sean McDermott said today, their top 3 are set, right? Coleman, Shakir, and Palmer in whatever order. Those are your top 3. Those 3 wide receivers are locks. He basically left it open for anybody after that to not be a lock. I mean, Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore, Tyrell Shavers. And we're going to get to Gabe Davis in a little while. I promise. We will also talk about Gabe Davis. I want to wrap up a couple of things about the Hard Knocks episode. We are reviewing and reacting to Hard Knocks episode number 3 here on It's Always Game Day in Buffalo, the podcast, the video cast. Thanks a lot for joining us. We are live. We have over 2,300, close to 2,400 live viewers right now. So thank you. That's on X at Sal Sports, also at Matt_Bove. And of course, we also are on audio wherever you pod, iTunes, Spotify, and the Odyssey app especially. They go to Chicago. They show a lot of stuff from the joint practice, which was great. And of course, Dalton Kincaid talking about some bird that is the fastest bird in the world, 200 miles per hour. Now we've had a couple of different episodes. One was Josh talking about Galileo Galilei and gravity. And now Dalton Kincaid talking about the fastest bird on the planet, which I think is very interesting to hear some of these side comments going on the sidelines.
I mean, it's just the most ridiculous stuff. And it's no different than some of the random conversations you have with your friends, whether you played sports or whether you're just sitting at a bar or whatever the conversations you're having are. They're just, goofing off, which I do think is the sign of a team that's close. I really do believe that. Like, I don't expect them to be talking about football 24/7. I think that they want to keep things light at times and know when they need to ramp it up. And I think that we saw some examples of that in this most recent episode.
The bird in the show is a turkey vulture, says Machinist. And he was talking about a peregrine, how do you say it?
Peregrine falcon.
Peregrine falcon. Sorry if I said it wrong. Peregrine falcon. They're in North America, says Liam. So there you go. Somebody earlier said, and I like this, I got to find the comment, but someone said, you just know that Jeremy White's going to lead off the morning show tomorrow with the Peregrine falcon.
Oh, yeah. You got a good feeling about that one?
Oh, yeah. That's just the way it goes. So there we go.
So anything else from the episode specifically that you feel like you want to get to, or do you want to die? Because I feel like the two big storylines of the day are the safety position and the Gabe Davis stuff. Like, I feel like those are the two big storylines from practice. So, we can kind of go back to the episode if we feel like we need to, but it feels like now would be a good way to kind of shift.
Let's go. Let's do it. Why don't you start with whichever one you'd like to?
So I'll start with the safety one, because I think the most interesting thing we learned from the Sean McDermott press conference, coincidentally, was to a question that I asked. I'm not like saying this to be like, oh, great question. I just feel like he was waiting for somebody to give him the opportunity to make it clear that the second safety job is not written in pen and that it is still a competition. And I just happened to be the one that was asking the question about that. So essentially what I did was Sean McDermott was in the press conference and he was asked a question specifically about Cole Bishop from, I believe, Mike Catalana. And then I asked as a follow-up, when you evaluate the safety position as a whole, how do you feel? Because for years, we didn't think about that position because you knew you had Micah and Jordan back there, but now suddenly it's a position we talk about all the time. So how do you think that position is right now? And he basically, it wasn't a shocking response, but it was a pretty eye-opening one that he said, we are looking for the guy to play alongside T-Rap. So they know Taylor Rapp is one of their starters, still looking. And I mean, when you take that and you combine it with the post-game stuff that he said about how they needed to find who the next safety was going to be or who their safeties are going to be, and then some of the other comments he made, I don't think it's a guarantee that Cole Bishop wins the job. I still think he is the front runner. But if somebody pushes him, I'm not going to be shocked if he's not the one starting week 1.
I thought that could be Jordan Hancock.
Yeah, and now he's hurt.
But he's hurt, and he's not even going to play Saturday. I think that's out the window now. I don't think you can start Jordan Hancock against the Ravens if he's not even going to play the final preseason game to get more of an evaluation against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which I don't think that's going to happen. And I mean, you talk about time on task. He's had even less overall than Cole Bishop going back to last year because Cole actually did have time during the regular season when he got back and he was healthier. And even though Cole Bishop did struggle, there's no doubt about it. I don't know if you could just trust Jordan Hancock and put him in there against Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens. I thought that would be the guy who would have the door open and he could smash it down. I don't think that's happening right now. So where do you go after that? Is it Damar Hamlin? We've talked about it. You need more than what Damar Hamlin offers you. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking at least for someone to know the system and have a baseline of play, I guess, is it Cam Lewis? I think Cam Lewis fits more now as a backup nickel, but he has to be in consideration if that's the case. I don't think Derek Forrest has done enough for me to even maybe think he's making the 53-man roster, to be quite honest with you.
I feel like there's a safety there is a safety not on the Bills roster currently that will be on the 53-man roster.
Okay.
I feel like they will go out and find somebody.
Right.
I'm not saying like the easy layup is they're going to go sign Justin Simmons and he's going to fix all of their problems. And I'm not going that far because I don't think that they can afford Justin Simmons, or they would want somebody who just immediately is going to start and push Cole Bishop to the side. But I think that they would go out and get somebody. Or the really interesting thing is, could you trade an asset for a player like not a player like Justin Simmons, a safety that another team is kind of in the similar position with? Like the name that was getting tossed around today, we were talking on the sideline, a bunch of the reporters. It's like Dwayne Carter was playing well into the fourth quarter. If you don't know for sure if he's going to be on your 53-man roster, third-round pick last year, could you find a team that has another similar player at safety and make a trade or throw something in to try and find somebody else who could compete with Cole Bishop?
I don't think that's out of the question. I think the issue would be, and it doesn't have to be a problem or issue, I don't think that guy's coming in right away and starting. We know I think you'd have to have that guy have some ramp up time. Like he's not, could you really see Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich just putting that guy on the field week one and starting right away? I don't know. I think that would be a dicey proposition. It'd have to be someone who really understood the defense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I've heard the name and seen the name Jordan Poyer thrown around. I can't see that. Jordan Poyer lost a step a couple of years ago before he went to Miami. And then last year we saw Miami. He just wasn't the same player as much anymore. I don't even know if he's working out to play in the NFL these days, to be quite honest. But the thought of him, you get there is because he knows the system. They know him. I think it would take something like that. I'm not disputing that they could do something like that. I just don't know if it would be in time for that person to make an impact right away. It might have to take a few weeks once they get here.
Well, let me ask you this then, because the Justin Simmons name is going to be the one that people talk about. Charles says Duggar available, but the contract sucks. I mean, like Kyle Duggar is a player that's a really interesting name because it feels like he might not be in New England for the foreseeable future, but there's no way the Bills could take on that contract for a player like that. Like it just won't happen. But if the Justin Simmons name is, there's really mutual interest or whatever, would you do that? Because I do believe, like,
if you could afford him,
you would basically be punting. I know you disagree with this a little bit, which is totally fine. It's a good discussion to have. I think you're then basically not giving up on a young player, but I mean, if we're talking about Cole Bishop next year, still, what does this guy have in the tank? I don't think you're ever talking about that player living up to the expectations that were surrounding him.
Yeah, I don't agree with you. I don't think that it would be punting on him. I think that's the phrasing I don't like when you use it. I think you're saying that he's not to where we need him to be right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, even Kyer Elam got a third year to try, right? Like they were trying to make that work in year 3 and it just didn't work. And finally, after year 3 into year 4 is when they traded him, right? So I just don't see that. Terrell Bernard in year 2, going into year 2, someone, who was it? It might have been, I have to get Hassan. I think it was, I have to get who it was on Twitter. Someone made a really good post that I saw today. Went back. Sean McDermott talked the same way about Terrell Bernard going into his second year. We need improvement from the middle linebacker spot. And like, look, I don't think that it's an indictment or means that you throw Cole Bishop's career out in Buffalo. I'm not saying they can't go out and improve right now. I still think Cole Bishop's a part of this team, and they would still want to try to want to make that work. Yeah,
there's a couple counterpoints that I would like to make. Kyer Elam did get a chance in the third year. Kyer Elam was also a first-round pick, so the leash on a first-round pick and the chance for redemption is usually given to those guys more often than it is to a second-round pick, just because, like with a first-round pick, hey, you almost try and make this work no matter what. With a second-round pick, I feel like teams might be like, okay, I don't know exactly what we have here. The other point I would make is that because his first year was so unconventional, he is so behind the 8 ball already that I'm almost viewing him like a rookie. So now if he doesn't play any this year, it's not like a traditional third-round pick where they still had some spot duty here and there. Like, I just don't really see a path to him on the field if they go out and signed a starter in front of him and there aren't injuries. But then somebody brought up the point about the injuries. If there's an injury to Taylor Rapp and he plays like a pretty physical, not giving a shit what type of game, like they are in deep trouble at safety, like serious trouble.
Somebody asks, Ryan, Mac Hollins should be on this roster. Agree or no? Well, no, because he's on the Patriots roster. Now, if you're asking if the Bills should have re-signed Mac Hollins, I guess you could make that argument, but from my understanding, they did make a Matt Collins an offer, but he chose to go to the Patriots for a little bit more money and more opportunity at wide receiver. So I don't think that that's really in the cards.
I think
Anyway,
they
that was
want
just, I didn't want to
no,
lose
I
that comment because that relates to the Gabe Davis stuff, but I didn't want to lose that comment.
No, for sure. I think they wanted to keep Matt Collins, but I think that he priced them out a little bit, and I don't know if they were willing to go that high. And I think that's ultimately what happened with Matt Collins. I mean, Charles makes the comment here. I really like the Forrest signing. Surprised he couldn't stand out in camp. Unfortunately, I haven't noticed him at all. Like I really don't see a world where he is the one this late into the summer pushing for that job. Like, I think if nothing changes right now, the safety room is Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop, DeMar Hamlin, Jordan Hancock, and then Cam Lewis is kind of like the little hybrid, can do everything. And that's not a room that makes me ooze with confidence.
I'll just clear this up now. Joey's cleaning lady says, wasn't one of the reasons Bishop drafted was because of Kincaid's recommendations? I would say no, but you always hear about guys who vouch for a guy. And we've heard about, Josh Allen wanted Keon Coleman. But Brandon Beane has made it clear the players don't pick the draft picks, but certainly they're going to get intel on that player and say, what is he like? That happens all the time. No matter, whenever you draft somebody, I'm sure part of the reason that, Max Harrison might've been drafted was because they talked to, Ray Davis,
yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not, hey, go draft this guy. Okay, we'll do it. It's you get intel on anybody. That just happens around the league with anybody. It's not the reason why they're, they're making a draft pick on somebody. Listen, I want to go back to this real quick on safety because I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. Rapp, Bishop, Hamlin, and Hancock and Lewis, I think, are the guys. The question is what you do with, because look, it's not out of the realm that Cam Lewis can still play safety, but I think they really view him and like him as the backup nickel. He's playing special teams. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, that's right now the break glass in case of emergency guy. And I know that doesn't sit well with a lot of people because he's a guy that they really like to play a lot of multiple positions, but he's not a guy that's going to go in there that you're going to feel super confident in 17 games being a starter. So I agree with you about those guys on the roster, and there's room maybe for someone else to come in and be over top of somebody.
If I had to win one game, I think I'd rather have Cam Lewis than Cole Bishop right now. But I think with Cole Bishop's ceiling and where they drafted him and potential, that you might just have to live with the growing pains early on. And your point about Terrell Bernard is a good one because we were having these same conversations about the linebacker position a couple of years ago. Maybe Cole Bishop is really good. Like, we don't know yet. And I know there's been growing pains, but like we've said several times, he hasn't been available. Like, that's not great, but maybe they're just kind of random freak injuries. And now, once he's actually out on the field a little bit more, now we will see the growth, because the thing that people said about him was that he was a physical safety who could really, really cover well and played fearless. Like, maybe he is those things, and we just don't know it yet. So, I don't want to punt on the possibility of what he could be just yet. I don't think the team will either.
Okay, I found it. It's from Uber Hansen on Twitter. He says, are you panicking about what Sean McDermott said today about the Bills' safety number 2 role? Almost exactly 2 years ago to the day. Here's what Sean McDermott said about the middle linebacker role. I'm going to read you some of these tweets. They come from our colleagues. He has screenshots from John Scott, from Matty Glab, from Joe Biscaglia. And basically, I'll read Joe's tweet. This is August 17th of 2023. Bills head coach Sean McDermott says, quote, there's room for improvement when it comes to the starting MLB job. Mentions communication, leading the defense, running the defense, etc. Quote, that's an area of concern right now, he said.
So, yeah, almost the exact same thing.
It turned out okay. So I'm not here to tell you it's going to turn out great. I don't know. I just think that I try to put myself and to give everybody a look into what the organization's thinking. And I don't think the organization's just, as Matt would say, punting or getting rid of Cole Bishop right now. Not that you're saying they're doing that right now, but I feel that they want to let this marinate and see where it goes first before they do that.
Here's a comment from Lance. DeMar has proved that a player that he knows where he needs to be will get takeaways in this defense. With the increase of man-to-man, do we think that is affecting Cole Bishop more than last year? I would push back a little bit on some of the comment just about like DeMar Hamlin. And, I do think DeMar Hamlin is a fine depth player and knows the defense and can contribute on special teams. I think the issue with Damar Hamlin has been the plays that he has missed or the mistakes that he has made along the way, or sometimes taking himself out of position. Like, I think of the play on first glance, the Olamide Zaccheaus touchdown that happened the first drive of the game for the Bears. When you're watching that play live, Cole Bishop gets beat off the line, and it looks bad on Cole Bishop. But then when you watch the replay, and then even the Hard Knocks angle from tonight, like, Damar Hamlin had a clear shot at making a tackle at like the 20-yard line. That's a 15-yard gain. And then, 1st and 10, not a touchdown if he makes that tackle. So it's things like that are the reason for concern, because this isn't a flash in the pan. This has become a little bit of what we've seen over the last couple of years with him.
Here are a couple questions about Cole Bishop. What are his actual injuries? Asks James. It's one injury he suffered in training camp. It was a quad injury. And I'm sorry, was it the quad? That was Taylor Rapp was the quad, right? Hamstring. For Cole Bishop was the hamstring?
I think so.
Now I have to go back and look. See? Thank you for asking, because it was Taylor Rapp who had the quad, right? We have to go back and listen or watch, but you can look it up to make sure.
Yeah.
You got it there? Yeah. Anyway.
No, Cole Bishop quad.
Okay, Cole Bishop quad. There you go. Thank you. I was right the first time. Sorry.
Quad
confusing
injury.
My safeties. Quad injury was his injury. It was shoulder last year. Remember shoulder? Fell on his arm during a training camp practice. Just an unfortunate situation. And then Scott says he needs to play most of the Tampa game. I don't disagree. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, he was on a snap count in the game the other day. So it would be a little, to me, I don't disagree with the thought either, but it feels a tad unrealistic to go from being on a 12-play snap count to playing an entire preseason game. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Let me ask you this. If they felt he was healthy enough, and not even the whole game, let's just say even a half, the starters aren't going to play in this game, but would you play him still?
Yeah, I would. I would play him for at least a half. The thing that's concerning and tricky with him is that you want to see what he can do out there with Taylor Rapp, and they're not going to play Taylor Rapp in this game, or at least I don't think they're going to do. So it almost feels like, what's the point? Like, I do think that there's value in it, but how much value is it? And then what is the risk that you're taking on, especially because you already have an injury to a player like Jordan Hancock, and that room is getting pretty thin there. So yeah, I mean, I would play him as much as possible, but also within reason.
5 episodes, Jay Wood asks how many episodes for Hard Knocks. All right, let's get to the maybe bigger news for some people of the day, and that is Gabe Davis reportedly visiting the Buffalo Bills. It appears that way from all accounts. Even Josh Allen kind of talked about it. Gabe Davis going to be in town after visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers. So a lot of questions about this, Matt. I guess your overall answer to why would the Bills do this? Why would the Bills be interested in signing Gabe Davis? What's your answer to that? If they bring him in, they're obviously interested in some capacity. Doesn't mean they're going to sign him. Who knows? What's your answer to why would they do that?
I feel pretty strongly about this because I kind of think it's a no-brainer as long as it's not an unrealistic contract to ask. And I don't think he would be even visiting if they knew what he was asking and they weren't able to afford it. So it doesn't feel like it's going to be anything crazy.
Well, let me touch on that first. I don't think I think he'll get the vet minimum because he's already been paid $11.5 million by the Jaguars this year.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
And any money he gets from any team just offsets that money from the Jags. Like if you give him a $2 million contract, he's getting $9.5 million from the Jags. So just to stop you for a second, I mean, I can't imagine he would be like, oh, give me $6 million because it's just offsetting the money anyway.
Okay. So that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up because that does matter. Okay. Right. Here's my thought. Why would the Bills be interested in bringing him in? I think that he can do a very similar job to what Matt Collins did for this team last year, and that turned out to be a valuable role that the Bills definitely leaned on a little bit. Now, the easy pushback to that would be, well, Gabe doesn't play special teams, and Matt Collins does. But then I would say Gabe would be making this roster over players like Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel, or Tyrell Shavers. So none of them are necessarily special teams aces who I think they can count on a lot. Now, once again, because I've been dealing with this all day, a common response would be, well, wouldn't you want Tyrell Shavers because he is going to contribute on special teams and he is going to have a more special teams role? Shout out to Carl Jones for this stat. The Bills have punted 12 times in the preseason. How many of those has Tyrell Shavers been on the field for? Do you know?
I'm going to say 0.
1. So he's been on the field for 1 of those 12 punts. So now we're talking about the special teams role, and it's really not that big. Then the other comment that I've gotten from a lot of people is, I want to go with the youth. I want the upside of the young player. Tyrell Shavers and Gabe Davis are the exact same age. Tyrell Shavers has been on the practice squad for a couple of years. Yeah. Gabe Davis scored 4 touchdowns in a playoff game. Like, I'm not saying that Gabe Davis is going to ever come back and do that. But Gabe Davis was his most effective when he was the 4th or 5th guy on the wide receiver depth chart, and that is what he would be doing here once again. I think it is an absolute no-brainer.
Emily says, I guess the bad blood with Davis and the Bills organization, Bills Mafia from his last game or two here is gone. I don't think there's bad blood. I think there was a tough game, and Tyler Bass missed a field goal, and people were getting on Tyler Bass, and Gabe Davis came to his defense on the sidelines. That's pretty much what happened there. So I don't think there's anything there. No, I will tell you personally, I know this. I know some people close to Gabe. Gabe loves Buffalo. He's a great relationship with the organization and with Josh Allen. He'd love to come back to Buffalo, but he's also a free agent. He's going to survey his options. If the Pittsburgh Steelers decide to sign Gabe Davis and he wants to go there, that could happen. But I wouldn't rule out him coming back to the Buffalo Bills. We'll see. From Gabe's point of view, right? That's where it is for him. Like, if there's an opportunity to play, come back to Buffalo.
He's setting yourself up for the next contract. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, he's going to want to do it. From the Bills side, the reason why I think they would want Gabe Davis back is it's competition to elevate the rest of the room. I don't think it has anything to do specifically with Tyrell Shavers or Curtis Samuel or Elijah Moore. I think it's the collective unit. You bring him in, you're adding someone who, and this is more important for me why they would do it, who they know. I mean, this is the guy who won their Iron Bill Award 2 years in a row, the hardest worker in the offseason. It's a guy that is a very willing run blocker that never comes off the field. Now, you as a fan might think those things should not matter. I'm here to tell you they matter to the Buffalo Bills. Those things matter greatly to the Buffalo Bills. It's a guy that you don't have to worry about every single day. Ever think about, is he doing the right thing? Is he working the right way? Is he practicing hard the right way? All of those boxes get checked. He's somebody that you drafted, you developed, and you wanted to keep, but he went somewhere for money, which there's nothing wrong with that. So when I get asked why would the Bills want to do it, those are the answers for me. And because, yes, I still think they're looking for their 4, 5, and 6 maybe number wide receivers. And if he happens to, hey, you got to play some special teams, fine. I don't know if he would fit that role, to be quite honest, but it's possible because that's what 5 and 6 wide receivers have to do sometimes. But I think it's because this is a familiar guy who they know could come in. Now, here's the question. The biggest question is Gabe Davis healthy? And even Josh said something interesting today. He said he's close to being 100% or he's close to being healthy. He said something like that. And from every indication I've gotten, Gabe's been rehabbing all summer. And the reason why he's been doing it on his own and not with a team, why would you go to a team when there's 90 guys on a roster? Everybody's got to share the training room and all the training staff. When you could do this on your own, get healthy, and then go to teams and say, I'm healthy. Do you want me?
He also owns his own performance center in Florida. Yes, so I'm assuming that he's getting some pretty top of the line treatment. You know, I did a story with him several years ago and went down there, and he definitely is taking care of his body. Here's a comment from Adam. It says Gabe Davis was on Shane Gillis' podcast saying he's still recovering from a knee and other lingering injury, and that was 2 weeks ago. And I mean, yeah, that checks out. Like, I know that's exactly. So it just kind of confirms some of the stuff that was out there. And then go to the next.
That's why he hasn't signed yet, by the way. He hasn't signed, by the way, because of that. Like, that's what I think. I'll go to the next comment. Hold on. The visit today for me, both for the Steelers and Bills, is exploratory. It's how are you? Let's check up on you. Let's see how your knee is doing. And if he is healthy, Matt, I still think he doesn't do anything, and the teams don't do anything specifically until next week after roster cuts shake out, because they want to see what else is out there as well. Let's go to the next comment. Go ahead.
Yeah. Why waste a roster spot on another wide receiver? Would the Bills be better served offering spots to better DB safety talent? I mean, it's a very fair point, but I don't think they're mutually like, correct. I don't think one means they can't do the other. Like, a lot of comments today have been, can Gabe Davis play safety? I don't think this team adding Gabe Davis to a very manageable contract has anything to do with them not addressing safety or going out and adding another safety. They have an open roster spot right now. If they sign Gabe Davis, it does not mean, okay, we are done. We are not doing anything else. I think this is a move to try and improve the offense and give themselves a little bit more depth. Now, this might be maybe my hottest Bills take, but it's one that I've had for a while. And I've probably said on this podcast, I think if Gabe Davis is healthy, the Bills beat the Chiefs in the playoffs 2 years ago. I really do. Because in that game, Josh Allen was chucking up passes to Trent Sherfield and Deontay Hardy. And that goes to the point of having depth at the wide receiver position matters. Because what if you have an injury to Keon Coleman or Josh Palmer? Your two primary boundary receivers right now. How comfortable would you feel with some of the other options you currently have? Probably not great. I would personally feel a little bit better with Gabe Davis out on the field. That's not to say that he needs to be playing a ton. Like somebody made the comment, Matt Collins played way too many snaps on offense last year. I don't think I would say way too many, but I could understand if you think he played too many. But like that was because of the injuries. Injuries are inevitably going to happen. Amari Cooper got banged up and there's other guys who got hurt. So I just think having another person there who they trust would be valuable to them.
I looked today, according to both Spot Trek and Over the Cap, the Bills have between $1.3, $1.5 million available. That doesn't have to be the exact number, but let's just say they have $1.4 million available, right? Let's just keep it there. Just so everybody is clear on how this works, because I think I need to explain this. Let's say Gabe Davis signed a minimum contract, and I just said he'll probably do that wherever he goes because he's not making more than 11.5 no matter what. And no matter what money he gets, it just minuses what he already got from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he's going to say, all right, I'll sign a vet minimum deal. That's $1.2 million for a guy for his amount of years service. That $1.2 million, Matt, would not count right against the cap. Because of the top 51 rule, where only the top 51 salaries count, he would replace the 51st guy. They would bump down. I did the math today. A $1.2 million contract would count $200,000 on the cap right now.
There you go.
200 grand. That's it. Like nothing. It's nothing. Now, that being said, Matt C says Bills don't need Gabe. Justin Simmons should be a Bill by the end of the week, bro. Well, as we just addressed a little while, Matt, and you probably weren't listening, but we'll say it again. I think Justin Simmons would cost a lot more. That would cost you more because you would replace a lot of guys that bump down, and the added numbers there and the math would cost you a lot more. I don't know if they could afford what Justin Simmons is asking for. And I don't know what that is, by the way, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either. And his name is the most popular name out there just because of the success he's had in the league. It sounds like it went really bad in Atlanta last year. Now, I don't know what really bad looks like because really bad is still probably better than the options the Bills currently have at that position. But a lot of that will come down to what is he asking for and can the Bills even make it work? And what they think of Cole Bishop. Because maybe Sean McDermott is just trying to light the fire under Cole Bishop right now and get even more out of him, and they think he's going to be just fine. Like Terrell Bernard with those comments from a couple years ago. So maybe. Okay. I don't exactly know.
Hold on. First of all, two comments here. Jay Wood, the Bills are the only team with a negative cap. Why not talk about that? I will, because Joey's cleaning lady says Bills are $600K over the cap. Folks, they're not over the cap right now. You can't operate. You're not allowed to be over the cap. Their top 51 is all that counts right now. They're under the cap right now by a little more than $1 million. But projected out, their top 53, once they go to that, they will be 600 over is the way it works. That's next Tuesday. That's why you make moves. Guys will be cut. Guys might be get restructured. As of right now, they are not over the cap. They can still sign people because you are not allowed to be over the cap. They're top 51. They still have room right now. I hope that makes sense to everybody.
It definitely makes sense. Yeah. I mean, they need to figure something out within the next week, but they don't know what their roster is even going to look like in the next week because we're talking about players who could potentially get traded, who could potentially be cut.
I mean, let's just say they cut Curtis Samuel and take a $7 million dead cap hit. The $7 million is already accounted for. But they'll actually then save $450,000 on the cap. Like that would actually come off the books. That's $500,000. Let's say they release AJ Epinesa. I'm just throwing it out there. That's like $6 million they would save, actually, Matt.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's options. I don't think I know why you gave the examples you did. Right. I don't think either of those things are happening. But yeah, and I'd also expect something to happen that we don't expect because that's always the case. Like last year, if you went and did listen to a podcast from us a year ago right now, we were probably talking about Daquan Hardy being the kick returner and the punt returner. And then they traded for Brandon Codrington out of nowhere. So there's probably going to be something that happens with either them moving on from a player. Maybe they trade an offensive lineman that they don't like. Maybe Ryan Vandermark can fetch them a pick if they think Tylen Grable and Chase Lunt are going to be their kind of backup tackles, and maybe they trade him for a safety that a team doesn't think is going to make the roster. Or like, there's a lot of things that they could do.
Yeah. So again, I think Jay Wood is obviously very against Gabe Davis because we've just tried to go over this, Jay, but I'll try to again. How do they justify signing Gabe Davis? Who would they cut to save the cap, to be under the cap? Again, They don't have to cut anybody to be under the cap right now. If they sign him, it costs $200,000. They have the money, and then you make the same kind of moves you would. But I'll go back to what I said earlier, Jay. I don't think Gabe Davis signing, my personal opinion here is the way it looks. I don't think he would sign with anybody until after the 53 is set all across the league anyway. Then people know how much room they have. They can survey who else is out there. They can decide they want him. They want somebody else. So that you don't have to cut anybody right now. And by the way, they also have an empty roster spot right now after all the moves they made today, which included, by the way, Darrington Evans going to IR. So he's done for the year for the Buffalo Bills. And an interesting note that I have to go over here operationally, Caden Prather was waived injured. What does that mean? Here's a 7th round pick the Bills drafted. He was waived injured. So here's what this means. Because he has been in the league less than 4 years, you can't just put him on injured reserve this time of year. You must waive him first. So now Caden Prather is subject to waivers. Every team can put a claim in on him. If somebody wants Caden Prather, he's theirs basically, going in order of the waiver order. But I doubt any team will do that knowing he's injured and knowing you have to put him right on your roster. So what will happen then, he'll clear waivers tomorrow. He'll go back to the Bills roster on IR, and the Bills can't use him all year. They can just give him a redshirt year. That's how it'll work.
I was going to say, this is a redshirt year. If you're somebody who follows college sports, this is basically a redshirt year. It's what they've done with Marquez Stevenson, I believe, a couple years ago. I think there was another receiver where they did something similar. It might have been like Isaiah Hodgins, actually, where there was an injury that popped up, and then they essentially just didn't have them play, but had them in the get paid, and then they circle back to everything next summer.
I'm looking at this right now. There's a good question here about Daquan. Let me look at Daquan Jones's number. I'll put the comment up here.
It's such an interesting name. It's such an interesting name that I just don't think, because I had this conversation literally today. But with the Ogunjobi suspension, with Dwayne Carter playing so late, I know we're not talking about always the exact same position.
They would save $5.5 million. They'd have to take on $4 million of money that's already on the books. And another 1.6 next year, but they would save $5.5 million by cutting Daquan. But I agree with you, Matt. The numbers, it makes it tough because of Ogunjobi's suspension right now.
Yeah, and I just don't know who would fill in that role, especially early on in the season.
What happened to Hodgins? Hodgins went to the Giants. I don't know if he's still even there. I don't know.
I was going to say,
remember, isn't that like the ultimate guy of, oh my God, how could you ever get rid of him? And then he went to the Giants and was very good for a cup of coffee for a few games, a half a year. And then he was actually waived the next year and brought back and didn't do anything after that.
Yeah. It's weird how sometimes that kind of stuff happens. But I mean, Gabe Davis signed like a $39 million contract a year ago, and it didn't work out after 10 games in Jacksonville. So it's always kind of weird how it always happens.
Yeah, good question, Emily. A little operational stuff here we're getting at today. Are the suspension over before the trade deadline? Yes, they are. Yeah. They are over after week 6, but they can actually start practicing with the team week 4, after week 4. And then the Bills don't play again until week 7. So they actually have 3 weeks of practice with the team. They cannot be at the facility in that time. The other thing that's really is notable here is here you go. Thank you, Ryan. I love how you break everything down and explain it. I'm going to do that here, Ryan, for everybody. So Emily, everybody who might be wondering, next Tuesday at 4 p.m., when the Bills make their cuts, you're going to see Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt get put onto a reserve list, the reserve suspended list. They do not have to make the 53-man roster. Essentially, the Bills can keep 55 if you count these two, if that makes sense to everybody. They will not have to make the 53. They'll just go transition to a reserve suspended list, and then they're out for 6 games. I will also predict right now, Matt, I will predict 1 week ahead of time, Cedric Van Pran Granger will just go right on the reserve pup list. He will not practice between now and then. He'll go on the pup list, and they do not have to make the 53 with him. As long as he doesn't practice, they can transition him right to there. That's a spot they'll save. And I'll also make the prediction on next Tuesday, the day of cut downs.
I know what you're going to say.
They're going to put Max Harrison on IR as an IR to return guy, so they don't have to have him make the 53, and he can come back after 4 weeks.
And maybe they cut Reed Ferguson because they do this off. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think they'll have to, though.
Well, I was going to say they might not have to, but isn't that what they've done to do the roster gymnastics the last couple of years?
They didn't do it last year because of the new rule with the 2 guys you can put on IR anyway now.
Oh, was that 2 years ago, the Reed Ferguson stuff?
Yeah, 2 years ago they still did it. But starting last year, I believe it was, that's when the NFL made the rule that you can have 2 guys.
Yeah, that's the comment from Matt.
In order to avoid it, Yes, exactly.
Annual Reed Ferguson
Yes.
release day, and then
Correct.
he
And
can't
by the
show
way,
up to the.
I think the Dolphins did it with Blake, his brother, one year too.
Yeah. Right now, let's end with this. We'll talk.
Mad Max not
again.
going to PUP. No. Mad Max won't go to PUP. He's not on PUP. PUP is
No.
only for now. Like, you have to already be on it to start training camp. He will, to me, go to IR, but IR designated to return, Charles, just to give it to you there, and then he'll come back.
Let me ask you this. This will be our last thing before we say goodnight, and then we can obviously discuss this as we get closer. Any surprise cut predictions? Anybody who you think that immediately comes to mind?
I don't know. I'm trying to get rid of these comments along with there. There you go. Sorry. Any surprise cut predictions? The biggest one I would have would be Curtis Samuel, but I don't know if I want to predict that right now. I think after watching today, seeing him back on the field in 7-7 and 11-on-11,
yeah, he pops.
I'm not going to predict him, and he actually played pretty well. But that would be a guy I was leaning towards that could actually be out.
Yeah, I'm so torn. I mean, would it be a surprise to say that I think Shavers could still get cut? There's so much Shavers buzz right now.
Okay, would that be a surprise though?
I think to fans it would be. I think to fans because he's so buzzy right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who are like, I'd rather see Tyrell Shavers on the Bills 53-man roster.
I started to make
Davis.
it 53 tonight, and I got through all I did was I went through the roster that I have, and I put Hairston on IR. I put Van Pran Granger on PUP. I had the 2 suspended guys, and I said, okay, who else is an absolute lock? And I got to like 39. So I could still get some work to do here.
Yeah, interesting. All right. Good live pod.
That's a good live pod. Hey, don't forget, I've talked about it. I want to let everybody know next May, we're doing the Buffalo Football Legends Cruise. All right, check it out, WGR550.com, folks. It's going to be amazing. You can join me along with Thurman Thomas, Steve Tasker. Don Beebe is now going to be on board this thing. How about that?
Oh, that's cool.
Butch Roll, Del Reed of 26 shirts. We're even going to celebrate Thurman's 60th birthday on the ship. We're going sailing out of Miami on May 10th. That's Mother's Day, going down to the British Virgin Islands, going to the Caribbean. It's going to be amazing 7 nights, meet and greet nights, dance party night with the players and everybody else who's on the ship, obviously, and memorabilia night, games, prizes. I'll be directing it and doing all the cool stuff that the cruise director does. I'll be like the cruise director, but just for the Bill stuff. It'll be great. Anyway, go to WGR550.com. There are plenty of spots still available, and payment plans are available. And if you do it before September 7th, you get you get a discount. So go check it out, WGR550.com, Buffalo Football Legends Cruise. What do you want to promote?
I want to promote that it's almost time to go to bed, and that I've got it in the morning, and that we'll see each other bright and early tomorrow.
Syracuse. It's not a Browns helmet. It's a Syracuse helmet, and they just named Steve Angeli. Because I put it on. I don't want to put it on. It's to stick on my head, maybe. I should. They just named Steve Angeli their starting quarterback. He was with Notre Dame last year, so
okay,
got to see how he does. We got college football coming, and we have cuts coming next week, Tuesday, Matt. So we got to get the people what they want before that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Tuesday's pod next week is going to be a double whammy of live cut down day reaction and hard, which works out great for us because it's one pod instead of having to do 2.
Yeah, I'll end it on this. You're right, James. Sal, 1998, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, McNabb versus Vic, all-time great game. That's right. Steven bro something. I can forget his name, the tight end who caught the pass. I love it. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for joining us on this live pod. 4,000, close to 4,000 live viewers tonight. We'll catch you next time.